Welcome to Brand You.
The ultimate personal branding podcast.
I'm Kaz Grant.
And I'm Toby Lee.
Together, we're here to help demystify personal branding
and to make it accessible and effective for everyone.
Follow along as we guide you through creating your own personal branding journeys.
So, let's get started.
Let's brand you. So hello everyone and welcome back to Brand You. We have got a special guest for you all today. So this episode, we've kind of called it From Mop to Media, how Vicki built a cleaning empire with help from her personal brand. So basically we've got Victoria Gordon today, Vicki from Pocket Rockets Cleaning, and she's grown a massive 143,000 plus followers on TikTok with a whopping 1.7 million likes on the channel as well, and has recently been featured on This Morning because of her personal brand. So I am so excited to jump into this episode today because I think traditionally we've kind of thought of maybe like cleaning services as that kind of how do we put that out online? How do we put our own spin on it? Like most cleaning service companies would probably hide, but Vicki hasn't done that. So I'm really excited to dive into that today. So Vicki, I'll hand over to yourself. If you could just tell us a little bit more about yourself and maybe Pocket Rocket Rescues as well.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's not glamorous, is it, when you're trying to market yourself in this industry? So, yeah, the journey began about 8 years ago, and it did happen a little bit by accident. I was in a bit of a crossroads with another business, and my daughter was starting school. And I thought, I've got a few hours every day now. I'll start a bit of cleaning locally because I love cleaning. I'm one of the weird ones. And I'll just see how it goes until I figure out what I want to do with the rest of my life. So I set up a Facebook page, literally had the idea, set the Facebook page up that day. And within 2 days, I was fully booked between 9 and 3, Monday to Friday. And then people were asking me, like, are you taking cleaners on? Are you hiring? And it was like a whirlwind. 8 years later, the business looks completely different. We have pivoted slightly, but we are still very much in the thick of the cleaning industry, and yeah, growing all the time. So it's very, very exciting.
That's awesome. So going back to the beginning then, when you started, you created this Facebook page and suddenly you were booking up, what were you sort of putting out there? How were you putting yourself out there? Because I think it's quite interesting to see that before and after picture to what you kind of use content for now.
Yeah, so I think initially, because I was already on the networking scene and on social media for a different business, when I set up my initial Facebook page that day, a lot of people already knew who I was in the local area, and they already had not necessarily knew me as a cleaning lady. They knew me as something else, but they knew and trusted me. They knew who I was. I think it's really important. People buy people, don't they? It doesn't really matter what you're selling somebody, they're going to buy into you. So a lot of people that knew me already was booking in and telling their friends and family, sharing my Facebook page, people in the local villages that knew me anyway. But obviously, very quickly, I had to create content for, to advertise. And I think initially I was it's really hard to go into somebody's house and it's their private space, it's their, it's their home, it's their belongings. It's really difficult to say, oh, your house is really grim and I'm going to make it amazing and that would look great on photo. So please, can I do some filming or take before and after pictures? It's really, really difficult to get that balance right of showcasing your work and your skill set, but also not offending your clients or rubbing people up the wrong way. But people do love a before and after picture, don't they?
Yeah, that's it. And that's what sells, isn't it? Because you're that middle part, you're the solution, aren't you? And I can imagine that's really trying to do that delicately and respectfully, but also get people that are willing to, I guess, be put out there as for their mess.
Absolutely. And
I think you've done that really well, because I've known you from the start of that. So I was one of the probably the people that were at those early networking events together. I think you were probably there before I was, but then I knew you from that. So I've watched it go from that beginning phase to what it is now. And you do it so well. And what I love now is like it's the hoarder ones as well that you do now and you share. So again, it's not just necessarily you're cleaning traditional houses now either. There's all of that mental health side of it that you do so well at not making anybody feel bad, disrespected through the content that you share. You do it in a really good. I wonder if we could just talk a bit more about that, because if people go on now, they'll see some of that
yeah,
content.
definitely. So during COVID times, I realised I needed to pivot slightly. Still wanted to remain in the industry, but I think like a lot of businesses, it affected us hugely. All of a sudden, our industry was shut down. We weren't allowed into people's homes, even when the cleaning industry started to open back up slightly. People were isolating, they had the kids off school. It probably took us a good year to 18 months to fully recover. So in the meantime, we started to think, right, what can we do? So we started to do a lot more empty properties, end of tenancies, military march outs. There's a lot of RAF bases around Lincolnshire, houses where people were moving into and out of, etc. But I'd had in the back of my mind that I'd always wanted to do more specialist cleaning anyway. Crime scenes, trauma, biohazards always really interested me. So that was the perfect time. So now if you look at my socials, and particularly TikTok, because I only really started doing my TikTok to kind of right at the start of that journey, to almost record it for myself. It was a bit of a diary for me. Didn't really think anyone would watch it. The start of that. So it's really the last sort of 3.5 years. But what it does mean is the work that we do is even more sensitive. And we have to be even more careful what we're posting. It's not just someone's limescale tap or mouldy bathroom. It's people's lives where they are suffering with severe mental or physical health issues. Obviously, we do some cleans that we would never show. So, I'm never going to post a crime scene or an unattended death or something horrific, traumatic that's happened to somebody. Even though those posts probably would go viral. For me, that doesn't sit with my sort of moral, compass and the values. However, as Kaz, you just said, we do a lot of hoarder houses and houses where mental health and physical health are having a massive impact on somebody's ability to maintain a clean and safe environment. And some of the houses that we go into are really extreme, the kind you see on the documentaries. So to sort of capture that and showcase that work without bringing more shame and stigma to the person whose home that is, again, it's finding the balance. So a lot of what we post on TikTok is more around raising awareness of why people might be hoarding or might be living in what most people would consider to be squalor conditions. It's always mental health or physical health or both. And people are often on that vicious cycle where sometimes they feel like they want to do something about it, but then it's too overwhelming. So with permission, we do post some of those sometimes, but again, a lot of the time people don't want you taking photos, and so it's finding a balance again of marketing your business and showcasing what you do, and then fundamentally our client welfare is always our priority, and to respect what they want. So that's always going to come first. So it is a bit of a balancing act, definitely.
But it's a good example as well of how you use your platform for good now as well. Because originally it started to share your business and grow your business, then it pivoted into this other world, and then you're showcasing some of that, and then it's like, oh no, hold on, I can actually help write some of the narrative on this about the mental health issues with this and raise awareness of it. And also I think is it through TikTok, the money that you get through TikTok, you also put that back into free cleans, is that right?
Yeah, so that's exactly it. So one of the sort of incentives of somebody to allow us to maybe do a bit of filming or record the before and afters is to say we'll do the clean for free or heavily discounted, and we use TikTok Creator Fund to fund those free cleans. Sometimes if a video goes viral, it does make a few £100, which is amazing. So we do free cleans as a sort of thank you for the free clean. They let us showcase, and we've done that as well for a couple of documentaries as well, where people, documentary or a film crew have wanted us to follow us around, and again we've sort of said to the person, like, we'll come and offer the service for free as a thank you, because we know it's really invasive. But we explain as well to them that it's not just to show, the context is always really important for me, in the narrative. And I've turned down quite a lot of TV work because the sort of vibe and the attitude towards it hasn't been, again, it hasn't fitted with our values as a business, or just my moral values. I don't want people to be judged, or for people to go in and like, look how horrific somebody's living. Kim and Aggie back in the 90s were going around the Petri saying, oh, look how disgusting your house is. I don't want it to be like that at all. More about sort of showing that actually hoarding and, unable, not being able to maintain a clean and safe environment is a widespread factor of mental health issues, but it doesn't seem to have the same understanding as a lot of other factors. For example, if you had maybe OCD is one that most people would understand what that means, you might need to turn a light switch off and on 6 times before you leave the house. And, not everyone would understand that, but you're not necessarily going to be judged for that. People will just accept that that's part of your OCD. It's a symptom, it's a factor. But if you've got an obsession or a compulsion to never throw anything away, so you end up over a number of months or years in a hoarded environment, people are very judgmental about that, and there is a lot of stigma and shame, and then it worsens for the person because they just isolate. They don't let people in, they're too embarrassed, they don't let family or neighbours help, so it just escalates and it becomes, extremely unsafe, some of the environments we go into. So the context that we are trying to show, whether it's just on TikTok or Facebook or any media opportunities we get, is always raising awareness. Let's not judge these people. Let's understand. It's not lazy. It's not gross. It's not somebody. Nobody wakes up and thinks, oh, I'm just not going to clean my house for 20 years and see what happens. Like, nobody's living in these conditions in a sort of healthy state of mind. But it's not very well understood. I think people just don't really, they think it's rare as well. It's not, it's so common. I am shocked of how common it is. When I did my biohazard training, hoarders wasn't really part of it. And I was really surprised the first few jobs we got were hoarded houses. And I'd only ever seen them on telly before and thought that it was like a really rare thing. And it's not. There's a hoarder on every street, at least, guaranteed.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I photographed a couple of events last month, different industries, completely different organizations, but what has come up on the agenda has been hoarding. So there's
Really?
yeah, and I was really surprised, given the areas, I won't go into too much detail, but like the areas that these organizations are working, you wouldn't necessarily expect it to be a concern for them or for those crossovers. But yeah, it's surprising. So I think what's really nice is what you're kind of saying is the way you're communicating things is like, it's really clearly demonstrating what your brand values are, aren't they? How do you kind of balance that difference between, you are Pocket Rockets Cleaning Rescue, but you are your personal brand as well as, like, how for you, how do you see the two going hand in hand, and how do you utilize both?
So I think for me, your brand is, I mean, you might disagree. I think branding, people maybe think like your logos or your colours or what your website looks like. But for me, I think my brand is really what I'm known for, and the sort of reputation that you've got, and what people, if you weren't in a room and your name was brought up, what would people say? Would people say, oh, that really little cleaner? Would people say, oh, she's real feisty, she's a pocket rocket? I mean, my business name has come from me being nicknamed Pocket Rocket my whole life. I've never ever referred to myself as the Pocket Rocket, but whether it's been a change of job or a move house, or I've ended up in a different kind of environment with different people, very quickly someone has just nicknamed me Pocket Rocket. And I think that's just because of my character, my personality. I am, obviously, if you've met me in real life, which you two both have, you know I'm 4'11". I don't stop. You know, if someone follows me around for a week, they'd need a holiday. I'm always on the go. I get things done. I'm feisty. And I think that is actually part of my brand. So when I'm at work or at a networking meeting or doing a social media post, I just try to be authentically myself. Don't be afraid to let myself shine through. And then I think your characteristics and your values will follow. And it's visible just because you're being authentic anyway. I think if people are trying to be something they're not, for branding or for marketing, then they're going to come unstuck, because you can't like fake it for very long, I don't think.
Yeah, definitely. Have you ever had a plan of kind of when you started, right, I'm going to go on Facebook first, and then I'm going to start TikTok, and then I'm going to do, get TV into it? Or has it all kind of come organically? And I guess how tied into that, like, how did this morning come about?
So I don't really, it sounds bad, I'm not very good at planning. I kind of just do the do. I know that sounds really weird. It's so hard to explain to people, but I feel like I'm just winging it all the time. I have these ideas and I implement them instantly before I've had time to think about it. And some things work and some things don't. And I've made loads of mistakes along the way, and that's fine as well, because it's all a learning curve. I don't feel like in business you can do anything too wrong as long as you're learning from it and growing. So I've never had a social media strategy at all. In fact, I did resist TikTok for quite a long time, because during the sort of COVID times, I thought this is just kids dancing. But when I thought, what am I going to post? I'm a cleaner. I've got nothing interesting to say. But it was a really good time when I did the crime scene cleaning course. I thought, right, this is the start of a new journey. So I'm going to document it. And it was just me sat in my car, introduce myself. This is what I'm up to. This is what I'm doing. I've been a domestic cleaner. I've got this business. We're diversifying now. I'm really excited to do this course. And then initially it was just for my own benefit, really, just to sort of almost like a diary for myself, to just capture the journey. And people started to watch. And it did take a while. I think with any social media, it's never instant. You do need to be consistent. I think if you enjoy doing it, which I love, like I would never outsource my social media, because I do really enjoy it. And I think, if you do, it's easy to be consistent and to not kind of burn out from it and get fed up with it, because you don't feel like it's a chore. There's loads of things in my business that I don't like doing. I do outsource, but social media is not one of them. And it took me about a year to get to 10,000 followers on TikTok. So that was a bit of a slog. But then once I hit that momentum, I went from 10 to 100,000 quite quickly. And obviously it's quite, you get your dopamine, don't you? The more people that watch, the more money you're making from your videos going viral, the more free cleans you can do, the more people support you. And I've got a lot of people on my TikTok that are cleaners that follow me. And I've got a lot of people on my TikTok are hoarders and people that suffer with mental health, and their houses are similar to the houses that I show, and they follow me because it makes them feel like they're not on their own as well. It's really varied. The kind of messages I get into my inbox are sometimes from like two completely different sides of the coin, really. And I can help both in different ways. And I love that as well. So, yeah.
That's really fantastic. I love that. Do you get much work or lead generation from TikTok, or is it more that you see it, this is your brand reputation and like, a marketing tool for you, but it's not necessarily where the lead's going to come from? It just reinforces your brand overall anyway, doesn't it?
Yeah. So regarding actual cleans, we get a bit through TikTok, not, well, yeah, we do. To be fair, we do get a bit through TikTok, but every single franchise I've sold has come from somebody that's followed me on TikTok.
Right. Yeah.
A lot of the other stuff that comes from TikTok that might not necessarily be paid work is people wanting a free clean. And even if they're not somebody that we can do a free clean for, they might be too far away, or we might not have the budget at the time. I will always help and advise them, or put them in to sort of, sometimes there is funding available anyway. People don't realise there's pots of money all over. if you're suffering with mental health issues, physical health issues, you might be under adult social services anyway. If you've got somebody in the house with disability, that kind of thing, there are pots of money which aren't necessarily advertised widely. And sometimes people can get a clean done for free because the council or the government will pay, even if it's not me doing it. So even if I can't help them physically myself, I will still advise and support in that way as well. So, but paid work does come from TikTok, and I think probably more local paid work comes from Facebook, because TikTok's a bit more widespread, which I think why it's attracted franchises, whereas Facebook is still quite localized. But it's interesting because even if we're having a meeting with someone you would never expect to be on TikTok, it might be somebody from the local council, and we're applying for a tender and we go and have a sit down meeting, 9 times out of 10 they'll say to me, I follow you on TikTok.
Nice.
So it is just, you don't
Yeah.
know who's watching. And you was
Yeah.
asking earlier about where this morning came from. This morning came from being visible on TikTok. They contacted us and said, we really want to do a clean with you, and they want to do more with us as well. It's just finding the candidates, because a lot of people like the idea of having free clean, but they don't actually want to be on a big TV show like this morning.
Yeah.
Having a few pictures put on TikTok, but being on the telly is different, isn't it? So we're still always looking for candidates for that, because this morning have said that they want to do more with us. But yeah, it's all different media opportunities have come from TikTok. Podcasts I've been on, different TV shows, The Crime Scene Cleaner on Channel 4, all from social media.
Yeah, fantastic.
It's almost like you've future-proofed your brand, haven't you? Because at the start you were just building it, and then you went into the crime scene side of things, and then it's only recently that you've gone into franchising, hasn't it? So you've almost built this audience, and then you can use it to grow even bigger and bigger at all these different business milestones, which is so cool, isn't it?
Yeah. So 18 months ago we started franchising, and again, really that was just because we were being inundated from people all over the UK. Please will you help us? You know, my Aunt Mildred's a hoarder, but they live in Cornwall or whatever. So it just made us realise that there are other businesses that offer our same services as us, obviously, but we just knew that there was more people out there to be able to help. So it was a choice of, do we franchise or do we try and employ people all over the UK? And myself and my business partner decided to go through the franchise route. So it's going well so far, but it is early days. We've got 6 so far. So
I saw your Christmas party.
I know, it's so much fun. One
Excited.
too many cocktails.
For us, Sparkhouse was a great place to start and grow the Brand New podcast from.
The fact that they have flexible office spaces and lots of different areas to work in makes it great to spark creativity.
It's also a space that enables businesses to grow, which perfectly aligns to the messaging that we wanted to get across with the Brand New podcast, to enable businesses to grow along with us.
So if you're looking for a collaborative office space in a city that will grow as your business grows, then email sparkhouse@lincoln.ac.uk. You can also find that email address in the show notes of this episode. So along this journey that you've had, Vicki, in building your TikTok and your other sort of online presence, like, what have been the main challenges? Like, have there been any moments where you've had a bit of self-doubt about the way things are going, or?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that's really hard for anyone putting themselves out there on social media is like the fear of like judgment, because when you're putting yourself out and you don't know who's watching. It could be somebody that you went to school with, or it could be a stranger halfway across the world, and that is great because it means you can reach so many more people, but it also means that there's no sort of protection, and we all know the internet can be absolutely brutal, and so there's no shield really from people giving you hate and criticizing what you do. And you know, sometimes a video just hits the wrong side. Why I say the wrong side of TikTok, and you do have to have a bit of a thick skin. Regarding my content, where if I'm being criticised for the way that I clean a toilet seat or something like that, I literally couldn't care less. I don't value people's opinion on, if my client's happy with the way I've cleaned their toilet seat. And actually, one of the things that you will notice, some of the algorithms work better if you're getting a bit of hate. One of my toilet cleans ended up in the Daily Mirror because it went so viral, because all the controversy of the product that I use. So
Oh, no
it's a
way.
bit of a double-edged sword,
Yeah.
all press is good press, is that the phrase? But you have to accept that people are gonna, be a bit mean sometimes, and that is really hard if you're not thick-skinned or you haven't got the confidence. But most of the time it doesn't bother me. Where it does bother me, and sometimes I'm like, oh, like that's hurt, is when people are questioning like my values or my motives and like my business decisions. That means more to me than if someone disagrees with the way that I'm cleaning a toilet seat. Do you know what I mean? So even though I'm always explaining why I'm posting what I'm posting, and I use voiceover over the videos to say this is posted with permission, it was an elderly gentleman suffering with mental health, please be kind. Sometimes people are just going to say, you shouldn't be posting this, or, why are you doing that? And then there's the other thing of the jealousy as well. And I think this will be for anyone in any business. The better you do, the more feathers you're going to rustle. And that is just a fact of life. If you're going to be successful in anything, even if you're not putting yourself out online, just people around you, sometimes it's the people closest to you, will just not like what you're doing. But again, you just have to decide to stay in your own lane. I don't look at what any of my competitors are doing. I'm not interested. I feel like I'm on a tunnel vision half the time. And I do rustle feathers even in the industry, to be fair, because the crime scene sort of trauma, biohazard cleaning industry, it's heavily male dominated, or it has been until quite recently. And I do feel like I am part of that change. And a lot of these, old men, white van man kind of going around. They're not on Facebook. They're certainly not on TikTok or any Instagram or anything. And someone like me that comes along into the industry, I'm female for a start. I am making some noise on all different social media channels. And people I do get comments like, oh, well, I'm not trying to get famous on TikTok. And I'm like, well, that's fine, because it's working for me in my business, and you do what works for you in your business. But I think anyone that's trying to build a personal brand in any industry, you have to be like confident to raise your head above the parapet a little bit and be a little bit different. Otherwise, how are you going to stand out? And since I've done my training, it was really heavily dominated male dominated when I did my training. But since I've been doing TikTok and I've got a load of followers and franchises and everything, the training team that I did my training course with, they've actually invited me to be on their training team now, because they wanted a female in the team, because so many more women are now doing the crime scene and biohazard training course. And a lot of every day people ask me what course I did. So it's not just me having an ego. I know most of them people that are doing that qualification is because I've sent them there. But it's absolutely like the biggest honour for me to be asked to join their training team. But I think it just shows that even in just the last 3 years, the movement, and it's not so much of a heavily male-dominated industry anymore. There are a lot of women following kind of what I do, and franchisees coming through. And I think some of this work does need a bit of a female touch. So I think that's great for the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Can I ask you how you deal with any kind of negative comments and things, whether it's regarding, a client's property and the content of the video, or something you've done or an opinion you've shared? Like, what is your way to respond? Do you post something explaining, trying to justify, or what's your approach?
It depends. I have done videos explaining and trying to justify myself in the past. I think it depends what I'm being criticised for and how important it is for me to explain or have people understand. If somebody is questioning my motives or my values, or somebody gets the wrong end of the stick and I feel like something's quite unjust, I might respond with a polite video reply explaining sometimes it's a ridiculous comment about my fringe or something, and it's literally irrelevant to anything. And I don't value someone's opinion of what my hair looks like, so I won't ever respond. I never respond with anything nasty, even if somebody's really rude to me. I try to be really polite back and respond with kindness and use it as an opportunity to raise awareness. And I think that, again, from a business point of view, it always looks better than than getting into some sort of keyboard warrior fight. But I try not to let things bother me. I am quite a thick skin. I don't value a lot of people's opinion, and I think you have to have that mindset. But obviously, I am human. Sometimes someone says something and I'm like, oh gosh, they've taken that completely out of context. I need to explain because I don't want people thinking that. But I think if you responded to everything, that would, you just can't.
No, and I think it's sometimes how people conceive. It's a misconception, isn't it? Because 99% of your audience haven't picked up on whatever it is. You know,
they
it
might
is.
have 100 positive comments and one negative one, but it's the one negative one that sticks a bit more. That's just human nature, I think, though.
Yeah, definitely.
And I guess if you learn over time, like, again, through doing it, through putting yourself out there, maybe if you'd received something at the start of this journey, it might have cut a bit more deep. But the more you get used to the type of comments and the things that come through, and you see that it's a faceless account or something.
Yeah, well, that's it. When it's coming from a stranger, and usually you can tell if it's even a person or not. Quite often it's just a troll account. I think it's harder when it comes from somebody that you know personally, like a friend or family member, or even just an acquaintance. Someone knows you. When they're like actively criticizing you, it can be a bit more stingy. I mean, even when we first, I have touched on this on my socials before, but when we first decided to franchise, we had a promo video made, and a mutual friend voice noted to say how embarrassing it was, and I was humiliating myself and absolutely ridiculous, to delete it immediately. And I literally, it just put more fire in my belly to prove a point. And I hope that person is watching my socials now, because 18 months later, we've already got 6 franchises covering half of the UK.
Yeah.
And the plan is to be, UK wide. So what if I listened to that person? And I deleted the video and decided I can't franchise because, one person says I'm embarrassing myself. You've got to kind of have the confidence and the gumption in your own self-belief, really. But not everybody has that. So I do understand how hard it is. And when people are critical, it is easy to listen to other people. But I think you have to just stick to your guns.
Well, that's it. I think often we rely too much on other people to justify our own beliefs. And if you've got any self-doubt whatsoever, and then somebody says something like that to you, you're naturally going to shut down, aren't you, and remove anything you've posted or shared and close up. But good on you for trusting your own instinct. And at the end of the day, it's your goals and what you want to do with your brand, isn't it? That's the important thing. Even if it doesn't work, you find another way, don't you? And you try things, but you've got to. I think that is the interesting thing about personal branding, and what stops people in the first place experimenting is you've got to put yourself out there to see what works, to see what can help grow and what doesn't work, to then try something else or adapt and change. And if you were to look back on your story, we've obviously touched on the milestones, but there will be bits in between those where you've tried something, gone, not getting traction there. It's not that you just signed up to TikTok and you were off. Your content will have changed to engage more people and things like that. And it's all part of a process.
Yeah, definitely.
So, Vicki, in every episode we share an action step that our listeners can put into place. Have you got anything that they could do today that will help move their personal brands forward?
So I just think if there's anything that you've been putting off, or you've kind of know that you need to do, but you've been thinking, oh, I daren't do that, or what will people think? I think just get it done. Just take that step, be brave, and whether it's a post or something else, just try not to think everyone's going to judge you regardless of what you do. So you might as well be judged for trying. If it goes wrong, it doesn't matter.
And we want to know your success stories as well. So definitely contact us at the Brand New Podcast with whatever you take from this episode that you go, you know what, that thing I've been putting off, I'm going to give it a go. Let us know how you get on, because even if it works or doesn't work, it's always good to hear.
And imagine 10 years from now, like where you could be and what business you could have if you do just move forward through those things, because you're testament to that, Vicki. Like what you've grown is brilliant. And I'm really glad that I was there at the beginning stages and I've seen this, because it inspires me and it gives me that push to keep going with things as well. And I'm sure you do that for many other people as well. So thank you so much for coming on today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been great.
Cool.
Do the follow bit.
Yep, I'll do the little wrap up bit. So thanks everyone for joining us for this episode of the Brand New Podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe on whichever platform you're listening to. And if you have any questions about your personal branding journey whatsoever, don't hesitate to contact Kaz and I at the Brand New Podcast, and we'll be more than happy to help and support.
Here's to branding you.